In 1803, the United States made what many historians call the greatest real estate deal in history. For just $15 million, America didn't simply buy a city or a coastline, it purchased an empire. Overnight, the young republic doubled in size. Millions of acres stretched from the Mississippi River toward the Rocky Mountains, opening the door to America's westward expansion and eventually transforming the nation into a continental power. For Americans, it was a moment of celebration. But for thousands of French settlers already living across this vast territory, the sale raised a far more personal question. What happens when your country disappears, but you don't? These families had lived along the Mississippi for generations. They spoke French, followed French laws and traditions, and considered themselves loyal subjects of France. Then, with the stroke of a pen in Paris, they woke up citizens of a completely different nation. Some embraced the change, others never accepted it, and many faced a difficult decision that would shape the future of America itself. This is the forgotten story of what happened to the French after the Louisiana Purchase, and how their culture survived long after France lost its American empire. Chapter 1. The French Empire in North America. Long before the United States stretched from coast to coast, much of North America belonged to France. The story began in 1682, when French explorer René Robert Cavelier, Sieur de La Salle, traveled down the Mississippi River until he reached the Gulf of Mexico. Standing at the river's mouth, he claimed the entire watershed for King Louis XIV and named it Louisiana. It wasn't just today's state of Louisiana. The territory covered more than 800,000 square miles, reaching from the Gulf of Mexico to the Great Lakes and from the Mississippi River toward the Rocky Mountains. On paper, it was one of the largest colonies in the world. In reality, it was incredibly difficult to control. Only a small population of French settlers lived across this enormous landscape. Most communities were concentrated along rivers, surviving through farming, fur trading, and commerce with Native American nations. Unlike the British colonies along the Atlantic coast, New France depended heavily on alliances with indigenous peoples. French traders exchanged weapons, tools, and manufactured goods for valuable furs that were shipped back across the Atlantic. For decades, this trade kept the colony alive, but maintaining such a massive territory came at a tremendous cost. Chapter 2. France begins to lose its empire. Everything changed during the 7 Years' War. Fought between 1756 and 1763, the conflict spread across Europe, North America, Africa, and Asia, becoming what many historians consider the first true global war. Britain and France battled for control of overseas colonies, trade routes, and global influence. When the fighting ended, France had suffered a devastating defeat. It lost Canada and nearly all of its territory east of the Mississippi River to Britain. To compensate its ally Spain for entering the war, France secretly transferred the vast Louisiana Territory west of the Mississippi under the Treaty of Fontainebleau in 1762. Almost overnight, Louisiana became Spanish. For the French colonists, it was a shock. Most had never imagined living under another flag. Although Spain allowed many French customs, laws, and even the French language to continue, the sense of uncertainty remained. The people hadn't moved. Only the government had changed. Chapter 3. A colony. No one really wanted. Spain soon discovered what France already knew. Louisiana was enormous, but governing it was another matter entirely. The colony generated little profit, required constant military protection, and was difficult to defend against foreign rivals and conflicts with native nations. New Orleans remained strategically important because it controlled access to the Mississippi River, one of North America's most valuable trade routes. By the late 18th century, American farmers depended on that river to move crops to international markets. Control of New Orleans meant control of commerce across much of the young United States. Meanwhile, Europe was once again descending into war. Napoleon Bonaparte had risen to power in France. His ambitions focused not on North America, but on dominating Europe. In 1800, Spain quietly agreed to return Louisiana to France through the secret Treaty of San Ildefonso. For many French settlers, it seemed like their homeland had finally returned. But the celebration wouldn't last. Napoleon's dreams of rebuilding a French empire in the Americas quickly began to collapse. A massive slave revolution in Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti, destroyed France's most valuable Caribbean colony. At the same time, another war with Britain became increasingly inevitable. France needed soldiers. France needed ships. And above all, France needed money. Napoleon soon realized that holding a distant North American colony made little strategic sense if Britain could simply seize it during the next war. Instead of trying to defend Louisiana, he decided to sell it. Chapter 4. The deal that changed everything. In early 1803, President Thomas Jefferson sent diplomats to Paris with a simple mission: buy the city of New Orleans. The United States desperately needed control of the port. Nearly a third of America's exports traveled down the Mississippi River, and without access to New Orleans, Western farmers could be cut off from global trade. Jefferson expected a difficult negotiation. Instead, Napoleon made an astonishing offer. Not only would France sell New Orleans, it would sell the entire Louisiana Territory. For $15 million, the United States acquired more than 800,000 square miles of land, instantly doubling the size of the nation. It remains one of the most consequential land purchases in history. For Americans, it was a national triumph. For the French colonists already living there, however, everything changed overnight. Without moving an inch, they had become residents of a different country. Many had never even met an American official. Yet suddenly, American laws, American institutions, and American expansion were headed straight toward their communities. The question was no longer whether America would come west. It already had. Chapter 5. What did the French do? Some French families considered returning to Europe. Others looked north toward French-speaking Canada, but most chose a different path. They stayed. For many, Louisiana had been home for generations. Their farms, businesses, churches, and families were rooted in the Mississippi Valley. Starting over across the Atlantic made little sense. Instead, they adapted. French merchants continued trading along the Mississippi River. Farmers kept working their land. River towns such as St. Louis and New Orleans remained centers of French language and culture for decades. Many residents simply learned to live under a new government while preserving the traditions that mattered most. They still spoke French. They still practiced their customs. And they still passed those traditions on to their children. America had acquired the territory, but it had not erased its identity. Chapter 6. A culture that refused to disappear. As thousands of American settlers poured westward, French communities gradually became part of a much larger nation. English increasingly became the language of business and government. American laws replaced French legal systems. New states entered the Union. Yet French influence never completely disappeared. Perhaps nowhere is that more visible than New Orleans. Its architecture, street names, cuisine, music, festivals, and even its legal traditions still reflect centuries of French heritage. The famous French Quarter, despite much of its architecture dating to the Spanish period, preserves the city's French identity through its culture and history. Across Louisiana, French place names remain everywhere, from Baton Rouge and Lafayette to Des Moines, Detroit, and countless rivers, towns and counties throughout the Midwest. The language gradually declined. The culture did not. Chapter 7. The rise of the Creoles and Cajuns. The French legacy also survived through the people themselves. Louisiana's Creoles developed a unique culture, blending French, Spanish, African, Caribbean, and Native American influences. Their traditions shaped the food, music, language, and architecture that define Louisiana today. Another community arrived after a different tragedy. In the mid-1700s, thousands of French-speaking Acadians were expelled from present-day Canada by the British. Many eventually settled in southern Louisiana, where their descendants became known as the Cajuns. Over time, Creole and Cajun cultures became two of the most recognizable symbols of Louisiana. Their history reminds us that political borders can change far more quickly than cultural identity. Empires may rise and fall. People carry their traditions with them. Conclusion. When Napoleon sold Louisiana in 1803, France gave up its dream of building a North American empire. The United States gained the land that would fuel its expansion across the continent. On paper, the transfer seemed simple. One nation sold territory, another nation bought it. But history is never that simple. The people already living there couldn't be bought or sold. They had to decide whether to leave, adapt, or build a future inside a country that had suddenly become their own. Most chose to stay. And because they did, pieces of France still exist across America more than 2 centuries later, not as colonies or possessions, but in the language, food, music, traditions, and cities that continue to shape the nation's identity. The Louisiana Purchase changed the map of the United States forever. But perhaps its greatest legacy wasn't the land America gained. It was the culture America inherited. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more stories exploring the forgotten events, hidden turning points, and remarkable people that shaped American history.